Hello, I'm Bill Dansby, a member of the Lansing 150 History Committee. I'm speaking with Arylie Campbell, whose maiden name was Dietrich. Arlie's family has been prominent in Lansing area business since the 1920s, particularly in the hardware business. Arylie, when did your family begin its business in Lansing?
In 1923, they started at North Washington in Lansing, downtown Lansing.
Mm-hmm. And in those days, Lansing was a much smaller place.
I think so. It's changed a lot in all those years, definitely.
And you were working in the business at one time?
When I was in high school, I helped at Christmas time and worked in the toy department, which was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And this was a hardware business?
Hardware. They sold housewares, hardware, paint, trying to think what else, bicycles, toys, and housewares were usually on the second floor, and that included like electric mixers and things that you would find at a hardware store.
The original people involved in this business were your father and who else?
The originals were Arthur Schaberg, William Dietrich, and John Dietrich, who was my father.
And was business good in those days?
Well, this was
with today?
It was just before the what do we call it nowadays? The Depression. Mm-hmm. And then they carried on through the Depression. And I can remember my father always took the bus. We lived over on Pettis Street, which was over across the bridge from the Oldsmobile plant. And he always took the bus to work, and he'd get there at 6 o'clock in the morning and sweep out the sidewalk in front of the store. And then he'd come home on the bus again at 6 o'clock at night.
Oh my goodness. That was the work ethic days.
That's for sure. Mm-hmm.
And what about the other people in the business? Who else was involved in the business?
Well, they brought, first it was Arthur Schaberg, as I mentioned, and then John brought his other brothers in, William, Sim, and Martin, and Walter, and Robert.
Mm-hmm. And over the years, they moved to different locations in Lansing?
That's correct. They moved down a little farther south on Washington, and then they moved across the street. The third store was on the corner of Ionia and Washington. So they moved 3 times, and they still stayed in North Washington location.
Mm-hmm. And then eventually, I understand the folks were involved in a sugar beet factory?
Well,
what's the background on that? That sounds interesting for Lansing to be in the sugar beet business.
Well, the sugar beet factory was there, but first they moved their business. They went into wholesale hardware, and they moved to Larch Street, and they built a large. It was an old building. They made a large warehouse out of that, and that wasn't enough room. So then they moved to the Grand River location, which is a sugar beet factory, was there, and they tore that down. In fact, I can remember there was all sorts of people came to see them blow down the big, or dynamite the big stacks from the sugar beet factory. Mm-hmm. And then they made another warehouse there. Mm-hmm. And then they got into the Adidas shoe business also at that time.
Well, that's kind of interesting to wind up in the shoe business from the hardware business.
Well, that was just another part of, they still were in the hardware business.
Well, how did they wind up with Adidas, which at that time was not a recognized name in the U.S., I don't think, was it?
No, it wasn't. They're the ones that brought Adidas over here. My Uncle Sim and Uncle Art Schaberg were over in Germany, and they brought the business over, or the franchise, over to the United States, and this sort of started the athletic shoe business that is very competitive nowadays.
Yeah. Well, in the old days they had tennis shoes, what they call tennis shoes.
That's right.
And Adidas was kind of a step up from the regular tennis shoe.
That's right. And with the 3 stripes, they're still very popular. You can always tell the Adidas shoes because they usually have stripes on the sides.
Okay, now that was the Worthington Company that was involved in
Well, no, that was still the Schaberg-Dietrich, but then they sold out to Worthington Company.
it? And that was in business in the Lansing area for a number of years, but
That's
it's
right.
not in business now.
Not that I know of.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Arylie. We enjoyed chatting with you today.
You're welcome.
And for the Lansing 150 Committee, I'm Bill Dansby.
Thank you.
Okay.